Einstein called her our Madame Curie. The world erased her name. On December 10th, 1944, in a hall in Stockholm, one chair remained empty. The audience did not know whose chair it was, but the woman who should have sat there had earned that seat more than anyone in the room. The Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded that night to Otto Hahn for the discovery of nuclear fission. The woman who had calculated the equations of fission was not invited. She was reading the newspaper alone in a Stockholm apartment. Her name was Lise Meitner. She was 66 years old, and the world had just erased her from the discovery of the century. 37 years earlier, in Vienna, Lise Meitner was a 28-year-old physicist with a doctorate from a university that had only allowed women to enroll the year before. She moved to Berlin to study physics. The Chemistry Institute had a rule: women were not allowed on the main floor. They gave her a basement, a converted carpenter's workshop, no heat, no name on the door, no salary. Then a young chemist named Otto Hahn walked down those stairs. He needed a physicist who understood radioactivity. He did not care that she was a woman. He did not care that the institute paid her nothing. He only cared that she was the best. They worked together for 30 years, side by side. He did the chemistry. She did the physics. They published over 50 papers together. By 1926, she was the first woman in Germany to hold a full professorship in physics. Einstein called her our Madame Curie. Then in 1933, the climate of Germany changed. The new laws targeted Jewish academics first. But Lise was Austrian, not German. Her passport protected her. For 5 more years, she stayed in Berlin and kept working. Then in March 1938, Hitler annexed Austria. In a single morning, Lise's passport became worthless. She was now a Jew in Germany, with no country, no exit visa, and no rights. The borders had closed behind her. Otto Hahn made a decision that could have cost him his life. He would help his Jewish colleague escape Germany. If the Gestapo caught him, he would be tried for treason. He would be executed. The night before she fled, Otto pressed his mother's diamond ring into her hand, in case she needed to bribe a border guard. It was the only thing of real value he owned. He gave it to her without a word. On the night of July 13th, Lise walked to the Anhalter station with 1 small suitcase and 10 German marks. She was Jewish. She had no exit visa. If a border guard asked the wrong question, she would be sent back to Berlin. She would not survive the night. The next morning, the Gestapo would be at her door. She later said she sat for 10 minutes without breathing. The guards looked at her. They walked past. They did not ask. She arrived in Stockholm with no language, no money, and a Swedish institute that did not want her. The director told her she could observe, but not contribute. She was 60 years old and starting over. The Nobel Institute gave her a corner of a lab, a salary 1/3 of what a junior assistant earned. No staff, no funding, no future. Then on December 19th, 1938, a letter arrived from Otto Hahn in Berlin. The handwriting was urgent. He was asking her for help. He was asking her to explain something he could not believe. Hahn wrote, "We have an isotope that is breaking the laws of physics. The uranium is producing barium. That cannot happen. Please tell me what is going on." She read the letter 3 times. She did not sleep that night. The next morning, she went walking with her nephew. Lise and her nephew Otto Frisch walked through the snow outside Kungälv in southern Sweden. They had a problem to solve. They sat on a fallen log. Lise wrote the equations on a scrap of paper. Niels Bohr's liquid drop model of the nucleus, Einstein's E equals mc squared. The nucleus was splitting in 2. The mass that disappeared was becoming pure energy, 200 million electron volts from a single atom. She borrowed a word from biology. She called it nuclear fission. The paper went out in February 1939. Within weeks, every major physics laboratory in the world had read it. Within months, they had repeated her experiments. The atomic age had begun. Hahn published the chemistry findings in Berlin under his own name. The Nazi laws made it illegal to credit a Jewish physicist. Lise's name was not on the paper. Lise did not object. She wrote to Hahn, "Protect yourself. The world will eventually know." She was wrong about that. The world would forget her name for 50 years. Then, in 1942, the United States offered her a position at Los Alamos. "Help us build the bomb your physics made possible." Her reply was 5 words: "I will have nothing to do with a bomb." She was the only major physicist of her generation to refuse the project. She was not invited to a single Allied conference for the rest of the war. On August 6, 1945, the bomb that her physics had made possible fell on Hiroshima. 80,000 people died in the first minute. Lise heard the news on Swedish radio. She did not speak for 3 days. She walked alone through the snowy Stockholm parks. She wrote no letters. She read no journals. The physics she had loved for 60 years had become a weapon. Western newspapers found her in Stockholm. They called her the woman behind the bomb. The headline appeared in 20 countries within a week. She refused all interviews. She wrote in a private letter, "I cannot accept that we have built this. I cannot accept that I am known for it." Then, on December 10, 1944, the Nobel Committee made its decision. The prize in chemistry went to Otto Hahn alone. Lise Meitner's name did not appear on the citation. It did not appear in the speech. She was not even mentioned. The committee minutes are now public. They considered Lise Meitner. They wrote that she was a junior partner, a theoretical assistant. They felt fission was a chemistry problem. She was nominated for the Nobel Prize 48 times, 29 for physics, 19 for chemistry. Across more than 30 years, she never won. Otto Hahn visited her in Stockholm after the war. He kept the Nobel medal in his pocket. He never offered it to her. He never asked her forgiveness. She did not raise her voice. She did not write to the press. She wrote only to a friend. He cannot bear to face it. The price of his silence will be his own. She moved to Cambridge in 1960. She was 82. She lived quietly in a small cottage near her nephew. She gave no interviews. Friends remembered her as quiet, sharp until the very end. She read physics journals every morning. She died on October 27, 1968. She was 89 years old. The funeral was small. There was no national announcement. Her nephew Otto Frisch chose the inscription. It read, "A physicist who never lost her humanity." 29 years after her death, on August 8, 1997, the International Chemistry Committee met in Geneva to assign a name to element 109. Element 109, symbol Meitnerium, the first element in the periodic table to be named after a non-mythological woman. She did not live to see it. The woman who had explained the splitting of the atom, the woman who refused to build the bomb. She was given her name on the periodic table only after she could no longer hear it. But the grave knew. The students who walked past it every spring knew. And every chemistry textbook printed since 1997 now carries her name.